Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome everyone to Conversations Story School's podcast. With us today is Professor Hong Q, Adjunct Lecturer of Public Policy at the Harvard Kennedy School. Welcome.
Thank you, Zohair.
I will start by asking the question that everybody here is asking. Why are you in Morocco and what are you doing at UM6P?
Well, I can give you the short answer, and that's because I've been invited to give a workshop on applying artificial intelligence for storytelling. But more, the bigger context is that this is my third day in Africa, and I'm learning so much and really enjoying this amazing university. It is really my honor to be here to interact and learn from and help teach some of the students here. So I'm very happy to be here, and Morocco is an amazing place. We came at a very good time in the year.
Well, we're very happy to have you among us. We're very curious. Tell us more about yourself. What made you go for AI as a specialty? Your professional background, your aspirations. Who is Hong Q?
Well, I ask myself that all the time, and I'm still trying to figure that out. I've been changing my professional career trajectory multiple times. I call my career path a zigzag, and I think it really is a you know the initial cause of all this is that I grew up in New York City, and I attended a high school that's very focused on science and math. It was one of the top public high schools in the whole USA, called Stuyvesant High School. And as a student there, the teachers, the education system would push us towards learning the mathematics, the science, the chemistry, the biology. And I always felt a little missing out that the humanities, the social science, philosophy was not very highly regarded. So I went to a liberal arts school, and I think I received a much better education, a holistic education at Wesleyan University, a small school in Connecticut. And afterwards, I went on to pursue another degree, my master's degree in information science at UC Berkeley out in the West Coast. And from there, I was very fortunate. It was a natural springboard into Silicon Valley, and somehow, by chance, pure luck, I landed at YouTube in the very beginning. So I was one of the first employees designing and building the product YouTube, and eventually I worked for Google when Google acquired YouTube. And I have a lot of experience in the subject of social computing, how humans behave and interact and communicate using technology and media services. So from there, I completely switched my career to journalism, very unexpected. I want to help spread the high quality information, help people understand themselves, their communities. And I realized working in social media over time that it was working against this kind of deliberative society, this kind of atmosphere where people had a stake and had a say and had a voice in how the community makes decisions as a collective. So after working in journalism in 2018, that's when I went back to academia and became this adjunct lecturer at the Harvard Kennedy School. And I'm re-educating myself and immersing myself in the question of public policy, of regulation, of governance, of all this amazingly powerful but yet disruptive technology that's creating a lot of upheaval in every country around the world. And we want to understand it in a scientific way, but also in a humanistic way, so we can all make our societies better and go to our communities and really care for those who need the help the most.
And one way of doing that is through effective storytelling. Uh, in this conversation, I'm mostly curious about the two sides of that particular coin. That is AI. Most people ask a lot of existential questions about AI, and in the realm of storytelling, which is one of the last frontiers of the human experience, everybody's afraid that AI might take that over too. If AI wins, they say that history is written by the victor. So we're gonna start by asking you about, let's say, the dark side of the story. There's a lot of worry about AI's capacity to emulate the human capacity, the human ability to tell genuine stories. Storytelling is a rational, it's an emotional and an observational exercise. Can machines and software do that? Do they have the emotional capacity to generate genuine stories? Will they have that?
Yes, that's a very open-ended question. I think AI, as it stands now, is not very intelligent in the truest sense of being creative, being able to have inspiration, have an intention, to be able to invent new stories. What it's doing is actually it's doing a mashup or a mix-up of all the data it has recorded and stored, and running some algorithm to mix up the different styles, the different words, and the result is it's, in a very negative sense, it's regurgitating not just the good stuff, but also the very bad stuff that's throughout history, throughout the recorded documents that AI is scanning and analyzing. So my current opinion on the state of AI is it may be fun to do some creative writing exercises. It may be fun to brainstorm together with AI to consider some of the options. But I would not risk having AI write the final version, the one that goes to the audience, the one that goes to my managers, the one that goes to the students. Because if AI makes any mistake, it will be my own responsibility as the person using the AI to help me tell the story. Therefore, I think the key for anyone using, let's say, ChatGPT or any generative AI tools is that we have to be transparent. We have to be very meticulous and scrutinize anything that the AI provides us and use it as some of the building blocks, but definitely not as the polished product. So we don't want to rely on AI yet. In the future, we can talk more about it. We can talk about how it can become better. But nonetheless, I am not very optimistic that AI will reach a point where it can truly invent the seed of the new ideas and the new stories.
Storytelling is also a matter of perspective. All stories are biased, depending on who's telling them, their experiences, their livelihoods, everything they go through. Can we say that in the near future, AI will also exhibit that particular bias? And if it does, against whom? Against the human race as a whole? Against a particular group of people? Is AI also susceptible to those very things we notice in storytelling, that it's all biased, somehow, positively or negatively?
For sure, 100% agree that any form of communication has the potential to take a perspective. There's no perspective from nowhere. We all have our histories, our baggage, our preconceptions, prejudices. I myself admit I'm very ignorant about many parts of the world, and being an immigrant coming from China when I was 9 years old to the United States, I see that Americans don't understand and appreciate China, and Chinese people don't understand American culture and just focus on the negative. So there's a lot of misunderstandings, misperceptions. When it comes to AI, I think the responsibility and the source of some of this bias actually begins at the very beginning in Silicon Valley, in the executives and product managers who are choosing what data to include in the AI, but more importantly, what data is being left out so that that material about those minorities and marginalized communities, they become invisible. As an Asian American in American society, I understand how it feels. I can have a lived experience of how being such a small minority, people might not care for your opinion, your voice, and you get ignored or completely passed by. So I think the same kind of process may be happening for certain parts of the world, for certain data sets and AI training data that's lacking in its completeness, and that in turn it's rendering the misconception and sometimes the complete kind of invisibility of those people who have very rich cultural traditions, who have valuable insights that we all can use in this age. We need more of this ethics. And so to try to alleviate or try to mitigate these biases, I feel like it starts with the cultural literacy, the racial literacy of the technology companies where I used to work, in companies like Google, Facebook, OpenAI. And, they might be great engineers, but they are not necessarily the most sophisticated social scientists and humanists. And I don't think they will pay humanists, unfortunately, the same scale and have the same power in those organizations as the engineers. Unfortunately, that's still the case. So to balance that out, that's one area, just the sourcing of the training data. The second part is the AI chatbots right now use reinforcement learning. So they are training it with the training conversations. They hire maybe hundreds, thousands of liberal arts graduates who are very good writers. They can write the perfect college application essay. But that population also have blind spots. And I will emphasize that adds another layer of, prejudice, bias, unfairness towards many people, many subgroups. So we have to be, be very critical and watchful and demand that the accountability from the creators of AI, the operators of AI, and they have to be transparent, disclosing, and really describing the limitations of their models and the source of their own bias, and be able to receive like customer feedback from those people who literally are blind. The metaphor is there was a Zoom technology where you can blur the background, but at some point in Zoom's technology, it block out and made invisible the entire face of some darker skinned folks using Zoom. So that's the metaphor I like to say. AI is not, is engineered technically to be unreliable and unsafe and unfair.
And now maybe we can explore some of the bright sides of AI, especially how it can contribute positively to the exercise of communicators. Communications and storytelling, as you know, happen in many ways and many forms, especially in today's digital era. Multimedia communications in all forms. Can you give us just a small glimpse of where artificial intelligence has landed today in empowering those types of communications meant to convey storytelling in all its formats?
Yes, I like this question because it's fresh on my mind as I'm teaching the 3-day workshop here. This is something I try to teach and try to share with the participants. When I teach the technical skills of how to use products like AI tools, ChatGPT, and so on, I really tell the students that you have to go back to basics. You have to go to the fundamentals of storytelling and dramatic structure. Just to share personal experience, my favorite storytelling setting is when I was maybe 5 years old and I'm refusing to eat anything at the dinner table. I would not finish dinner until my grandfather would tell me a story about Chinese history, some famous general or whoever. And for me, that works. That's like the best experience, and I still have vivid memories of those. So there's a few things there. The kind of historical drama, the stories, has to be reenacted by his voice. So there has to be a certain pathos, as Aristotle says, the pathos, the passion. The second part is that there also has to be some kind of a ethos. It has to have some kind of maybe ethical lesson, or you have to have some integrity in the storytelling, in the characters. And the last thing is, of course, we all know the third part of drama is logos. You should have some rational structure, some beginning, introduction, conflict, confrontation, and then finally resolution. And you walk away feeling like you enjoy that experience. So where does AI come in? It doesn't have ethos. If it does have ethos, it will be a result of the AI imitating or mimicking other literature, other types of stories that it has been trained on. So it's copying and imitating. It's not necessarily that original. The second part is the ethos. We just talked about that. You'll basically regurgitate whatever morality that it has scanned in the corpus. And finally, logos it's great at. It's very rational. It can calculate very quickly. The end result is that it produces an imaginary tale that is, I think, amusing and clever and statistically perfect, but also random and probabilistic. So each story will be slightly different because it's not deterministic. That's how the AI currently, the large language models work. But aside from all this technical, level understanding, what is the impact? Does it resonate? Does it have a compelling message? Does it work the same way my grandfather's reenactment of those stories, had on me? And I would say it's not there yet, because AI doesn't have the same emotions as real life people, because it doesn't even have a body. You cannot really care about its own safety. It doesn't have these kind of fears and these instincts and these innate emotions that's so raw, that we're born with. So that spirit is lacking. And I think if people interact with the chatbots enough, you'll see it becomes, the stories is very repetitive. It needs to be edited by a professional editor. It cannot edit itself to perfection. So that's where we stand. In the far away future, I think the possibility of AI being a very useful tool for maybe revising, doing some light revisions, maybe some kind of research to get some facts or some details from history. I was teaching the class how to upload a PDF document. It could be a whole book, it could be a report, and you can ask the AI to summarize the document, but you can also ask specific questions of that document, and it'll give you the response based on its reading of the document. So that saves a lot of time. My other kind of usage of AI as a kind of a sounding board is that you can send something to AI, something that you've written and drafted, and it can give you criticism, very constructive criticism, whether it's a research paper or a creative writing piece. And so that's on the storytelling from, just writing text, writing words. But I think I've been really surprised at the level of progress in multimedia with AI. We all hear about how you can create special effects. You can, edit the video. You can sync up like a fake, someone saying something that's completely typed in by someone else. So this kind of mixing of audio, video, visual, textual, and even graphical data, I think that has some potential. But at some point, you might create a whole PowerPoint deck with a press of a button, because it just takes all the small building blocks and then creates the whole presentation for you. But I think a good story, at the end of the day, requires a very impactful, very you need a connection with the speaker or the person delivering the story. And you may see like a virtual robot image and avatar, but I think nothing replaces this kind of human, face-to-face conversation like we're having. So I think that will not be possible to replace.
You mean AI can't do this podcast?
Well, I I think even in the best case scenario, if I had the choice, I would rather listen to myself, even if I had to, rather than an AI try to make an imitation of a conversation. No, no.
That, I agree with you. We would like for you to give us a perspective also on our focus here at
Oh,
UM6B,
yes.
and especially at Story School, which is Africa.
Mhm.
It turns out that Africa, with all of its vast resources, human resources, and large surface, only occupies 10% of global internet content and mentions overall,
Mhm.
which is the same as the city of Paris.
Wow.
A disconnect from the fact that Africa has a digital penetration rate that's still exponentially on the rise. It has exceeded 43%.
Mm.
Now, if we add AI to that as a catalyst for advanced learning and as a catalyst for production of content for storytelling, how do you see its impact? Is it positive? Is it negative? Will it compound the bias and the discrimination that Africa suffers from in terms of presence online as a team and as a region? Or the opposite, it can trigger a revolution within Africa of content and storytelling production.
Well, first, I would like to make a disclaimer. I'm only been here 3 days, and I'm definitely very ignorant and missing many of the actual, context and history. And so that's my kind of starting point. I have much to learn about Africa, but in spite of that, I like to maybe kind of play out the different scenarios, like as you proposed. We already know there's a bias against including content and literature and documents from Africa in the tech industry, because they're just, to them, I mean, to be very frank, based on my personal professional experience in Silicon Valley, if YouTube was trying to launch internationally in different countries, what do? They analyze the market size for the advertisement or the subscription revenue in each of the markets per country. And therefore, Africa may be toward the bottom of this list and be a lower priority, or the languages might not be translated in the first or second phase of internationalization. That's what I experienced firsthand. That's unfortunate. That's also creating, resulting in this imbalance, unfairness. But I think in terms of the actual content, social media, I feel like, does level the playing field a little bit in terms of allowing anyone to capture moments, like take a photo. I remember when I was younger in China, we go to the photo gallery or the photo studio, and they take a professional photo, and that was like once every 2 years because it was so expensive. But now we have the smartphones and everything. But also, where does the content go? Who is hungry to use this content for training and for, making the AI more inclusive? Is there incentive structures? Are there feedback mechanisms for technologists and the tech industry, the businesses, to respond to those needs? Well, my sense is that given the demographics of everywhere else, people are not having babies, but I think there's more and more people. In the long run, that's a positive sign. The other thing is, as you mentioned, the natural resources. The tremendous size of Africa. When I teach in my class how to use maps to visualize geography, I always emphasize what you see on the map as the size of Africa is so distorted. It shrinks it so much because of this projection, the Mercator projection. And the reality is, the size is way bigger than Europe. So that's unfortunate, because people walk away with the impression that Africa is a smallish continent. But in fact, it's very, both in terms of people and in terms of landmass, huge. And so, I feel like there's lots of room for growth, lots of room for content creation, and I think maybe even having the not just the written content, but the oral traditions, also the data, having access to more ways to create things like this, like a podcast, at a very low distribution cost, but also doing it in a way that's, having worked at YouTube, that might go viral, for lack of a better term. How can you, create this kind of subscription base or this set of fan base? And I think that is what the story school is really good at, this type of transmedia storytelling, cross-platform storytelling. And I think we should have a lot more of these types of educational institutions, as well as practice in everyday life. And we'll see where it goes. I think we still are in the very early stages, and there's so much potential here.
Thank you, Professor Hongqiu, for your time. And we're pretty ambitious here at Story School, and we know you're coming back.
Well, it was my pleasure. I definitely want to come back again. Thank you so much, Zohir.
Thank you.